guys, Cassie here. Welcome back to my channel, coming at you from the kitchen floor. I was going to be coming at you from the car, but it is way too freaking hot outside, so I had to stop doing that. So, I have a bit of an announcement, and if you follow me on any of my other social media, you will have probably already seen this announcement, but I wanted to post it here as well because it might kind of affect you guys who follow me here more than anyone else. So let's get into it. Okay, so I'm trying to think if I should start by telling you what's actually happening or start by telling you the reasons for what's happening. Let me process that for a second. Alright, I'm going to start by kind of the way that I wrote it. So in the description below, I'm going to link to kind of like a statement that I wrote on my website that you can read in full if you'd like to get more of my like organized thoughts on this, because this is very not organized. What are you doing, Melody? Sorry, my cat was looking like she was going to try to get on the counter. Which is not a good thing to do, right, little one? Here's the thing. I've been going back and forth for several years now. I've been going really back and forth on a lot of different things regarding all of my plans for writing books and publishing books. So the way that I wrote it in the statement, and this is, I guess, how I'm gonna talk about it here, I'll just kind of walk you through sort of how my thought process has been wavering in the past few years. So there have been times, well, when I started all of this, I wrote a book because it was something I was passionate about. I wanted to write this story. I've always loved writing, and this was the first time I had Keep No Record was the first time that I had like an idea I was really excited about that seemed like it could be a whole full-length book. So I wrote that book in about 6 months or so, and I really didn't have any like knowledge about how to write a book well. I just kind of did it and went from there. And then that's when I started, trying to figure out, what am I going to do with this book? Am I going to try to query agents with it or do indie publishing? And I chose indie publishing, and so that's when I started learning more about the industry. And I have, since I was a kid, wanted to be an author, or that was one of my potential dreams that I thought would be really fun, would be to be paid to write books. I mean, that sounds awesome, right? So when I indie published that book and I had an idea for the sequel, and then I had another trilogy coming out, I definitely thought I wanted to pursue the potential of this being my career. And eventually, hopefully, being able to quit my day job and just write books full time and have that be how I make a living. But that plan and that direction has really, I've wavered a lot on that over the years because there's a lot of pros and cons to that. Not just, financially, there's a lot of cons to such a kind of volatile, unsteady industry being the thing that you make all your money on. The idea of that is kind of stressful to me, especially when I already have a really pretty solid and pretty good day job. So that's a question that I wavered on. Do I really want that to be my career? Would that be stressful to have that be my career? And then there comes the question, or not really the question, but just the reality of, at this point, I've been writing and publishing books for 8 years, and I am not making any money, at all. So that begs the question, well, is this even ever going to be my career? Even if I wanted it to be, is it even in the cards for me? Is that even what's going to happen? And there have been times when I felt like, no, it doesn't seem like that's in the cards for me. It's not really working, so I'll just stop trying to make this my job. And then there are other times where I'm like, no, keep going, keep working, just work harder and do more, and you'll make it. And that is actually kind of one of those like mindset things that a lot of really successful authors like to tell smaller authors like me, that kind of mentality, like just keep going, and if you have passion and drive, you're gonna make it. And I don't like that advice or that encouragement, because I don't think it's true. I don't think that if you have passion and drive, and if you work really hard and put in a lot of time and a lot of effort, you are guaranteed to be monetarily successful in this field. That's not how the writing industry works. That's about as silly as telling an actor that like you're guaranteed to just eventually be a big movie star if you just keep working hard and keep going on auditions. Like, no, you're absolutely not guaranteed that ever. You could actually be really talented and work really hard every day of your life and never land a single role because you just consistently keep getting bad luck every single time. That is possible. And that's equally possible in this kind of a field. So I don't like that advice. But there have been times when I've kind of thought that way. Like, no, you just got to keep going. You got to keep working. And what if success is just around the corner? What if a year from now, I'm going to just be like a successful author. I'm going to be able to quit my day job, be making a full-time living on my writing, and all it would take is 1 year of really consistent hard work. But then there are other times when I think, yeah, but what if that's not what's going to happen? What if I do another really consistent year of hard work and nothing happens from that? And then also, on the flip side, what if that is what happens? What if I do find that success and I do become a full-time author and I don't actually really like it? Because those have also been questions that have plagued my mind ever since starting this journey of writing. There are aspects of... It's hard because, like, my most recent book that I put out, Falling for Sunshine, is actually one of my favorite books of mine that I've written so far. I really love it. And I really like Faking It with the Informant, too. Like, they're really... I think they're good books. I enjoy them a lot. But they do not mean nearly as much to me as Ari and Charlotte from my Greenwood series. That is the trilogy that is closest to my heart, and Jacob too, from my Redemption series, my first books. Those characters are like so deeply ingrained in my heart, even though nobody buys those books. They're not very successful, they're not very marketable because they're very genre blended and stuff. So they're not like, they're not big sellers, but those are the books that mean the most to me. And those are the experiences of writing those books. Those are the ones that I think about and just really remember fondly all of those days of like going for a drive and thinking through a scene, or going to the park to write, or going to a coffee shop to write, or just cuddling up in my bed and just the minute I get home from work or the minute we're done with dinner, it's like I'm in the zone with my computer, and I do not come up for air until bedtime because that's how excited I am about this story. That's how I felt writing those first two series. And this new series, I decided to try something different. I wanted to try writing to market a little bit more and trying to intentionally focus a little more on tropes and focus a little more on a very targeted genre and trope that is marketable so that I could maybe sell some books. And to some degree, that did work in the sense that I have sold a lot more books organically of my marriage material series than I ever did of my other books before that. I don't know, quantity-wise, I might have sold more of like my first book too, because I had so many like friends and family who were buying it because it was like the first book I ever wrote. But as far as like strangers buying my books, they always go for the marriage material books, not the other series, because they're more marketable. So to some degree, that did work, but definitely not to any level of success that would come anywhere close to like making this my career or leading to like quitting my job and being able to write full time or anything like that. And there have been some pitfalls to writing to market and trying to like, be more intentional about what I write. I didn't enjoy the experience quite as much. I still did enjoy it quite a bit, and it was a good challenge, and I think the end result of the products are really good, but I didn't have as much fun, and there was more stress, and now I've kind of been in a pretty big rut or like kind of writer's block for quite a while, and I'm feeling I'm not the kind of person like some people can just sit down and it's like, okay, it doesn't matter that you're having writer's block, just sit down and write anyway. And if this was my job, I could do that. I could make myself do that. But because it's not my job, I don't want to do that. And I wouldn't enjoy it as much. So it's like, do I really want to make myself sit down and write this story that I'm excited about when I don't really feel it? Because then later when I'm looking back on the experience of writing that story, it's going to be like, oh, yeah, I didn't really have the best time doing that. Where if I had just done it slower or in little pieces here and there whenever I feel like it, that would be a lot more fun. But that is absolutely no way to make a career out of this. So there have just been lots of times where I've kind of come to a fork in the road where I feel like I really need to decide, am I trying to make this my job or am I not? And the hard thing for me is that I'm a huge overachiever. I'm a huge perfectionist, and I'm a very much all or nothing person. Pardon my French, but I do not half-ass things. It's not in my vocabulary. I can't do it. If someone asks me to do something and I say I'm gonna do it and they're like, oh, you can just kind of like, it's not very important. I'm like, it is. It is important, Susan. I'm going to do it perfectly to the best of my ability, and I'm gonna work as hard as I've ever worked on anything to do this for you. So that's my personality. And I'm aware that that's not the healthiest thing, and I'm working on that, but I'm a work in progress. But the problem with that is when I try to ask myself, do I want this to be my job or do I not want it to be my job? People like my husband, who is very well-meaning but has a different brain than I do, he often tells me things like, well, you can just don't worry about it so much, like just if you want to like make some posts on Instagram to try to market your books, great. But if not, like that's okay too. You don't have to. You can just not do it for a while. And I'm just like, okay, I know you mean well, but like I can't do that. I can, but I can't at the same time. You know what I mean? Like if I am going to have an Instagram account open for the purpose of marketing books, and it sits there for like a month or two with no post, like that is going to be constantly on my mind and a constant stressor that's like, you need to be doing that, or you're not doing enough, or you're not doing this to the best of your ability. So for me, I really feel like I need to choose. I need to decide. And I think I've already decided, to be honest, but I need to decide, am I making this a job and am I working really hard on it, or am I not wanting it to be a job? And if I don't want it to be a job, then I need to go back to just writing for myself whenever I feel like it, and if I want to publish it, I can, and I probably will. If I write more books, I'm gonna want to share them with people, so I'm probably going to want to publish them. But do I need to go hire a cover artist and then be stressed out about the fact that I just spent like $300 on a book cover, and then I'm like, well, now I have to sell a lot of books because I don't normally just go around spending $300 on a hobby of mine. Like, that's a lot of money. So I need to sell some books to recoup that cost, right? So if I'm just doing this for fun and whenever I feel like it and not really making a big deal of it, then maybe I shouldn't hire a cover artist. Maybe I should just make my own little covers on Canva, and if they're not very good, it doesn't really matter because I'm not trying to make a job out of this. And so these are some of the various thoughts that have plagued me over the last few years. So I have made a decision, and you can please, if you're interested in more of my organized thoughts, because this is very off the cuff, and I'm not really like, my thoughts are not very put together in this video, but if you want to read my organized thoughts of my whole experience, I wrote something about that, and it is on my website, and I will link it in the description. It's just cassiebeebe.com/announcement. You can read it there. But I have made a decision that for the next year, I am going to not be involved in the writing sphere online. So by that I mean, I'm not shutting down my Instagram account, but I'm not going to be posting on it. I'm not shutting down my Facebook page or my Facebook group for Sweet with Heat authors and readers, but I'm not going to be engaging on there or on any other Facebook groups for writing. I'm also not going to be writing and publishing books. I say I'm not going to be writing and publishing books. I'm not going to be publishing books. I am almost certain I am still going to be writing over the next year, but if I don't write anything over the next year, that's okay. And that's my mentality, but I can tell you right now that as soon as I made this decision, I instantly kind of got a little more excited to go write because it just took all the pressure off, and then like my creative juices started flowing a little bit more. So I'm sure I probably will be writing things over this next year, but I might not, and that's also fine. And part of the reason why I've decided to do this, I want to take a year off because a year is enough time that I think by the end of that year, I will be able to tell what parts of the whole writing world did I miss and which parts did I feel like, oh, so relieving to not be a part of that anymore. And I'm really glad that I'm done doing that. So I think that's enough time, but it's not too much time because here's another part of the puzzle is, full disclosure, some of the things that I do for marketing purposes for my books, they cost money to do, right? I mean, like, for instance, almost all of my books, well, maybe not almost all of them, but a lot of my books have like a bonus scene or even for Working with the Enemy, if you've read that book, I actually have an entire bonus novella that is free that you can download after you read that. That's from Max's point of view because that whole book is only from the female's perspective. So I wrote a whole extra novella that's his perspective, and it's free and you can download it after you read that book. But all of those bonus scenes, I deliver those to people through a program called BookFunnel, and that costs me money to have that access to that program. I don't remember how much it is. It's like $100 a year or something like that, but it's some money. So, and then, same thing with my newsletter. My newsletter system, MailerLite doesn't charge you until you hit 1,000 subscribers, and I only have like 700, so MailerLite isn't charging me to run my newsletter, but in order to legally run a newsletter and do what's called email marketing, you have to have a physical address on your newsletter, and you have to have a professional paid email, so you can't use like a Gmail account or something. So I have paid for an email address that I pay for every year through my website, And I also have paid for a P.O. box that I have to pay for every year. And those are costs associated with my newsletter. So in order to run a newsletter and in order to have these bonus scenes and even in order to have my website, all of those things cost at least a little bit of money. And so every year I'm spending some amount of money on those things. So that's just one of those things that's in my mind that, when my husband says like, oh, just don't worry about it. If you don't want to write books for a while, you don't have to. And then later, if you decide you want to again, that's great. And I'm like, well, the problem is if I'm not going to be writing books, then I want to stop paying for these things, right? Like, if I'm not going to be writing and publishing books anymore, I don't want to have a newsletter anymore because it's costing me money to run. But I don't want to shut down my newsletter and then regret it. So that is why I've chosen a year. I'm going to be taking a year off because it's enough time for me it's a long enough time that I can really see how I feel at the end of it. But it's not so long that I will feel pressure about all of these things that I'm paying for once a year to renew. It's like, well, it's only one time I'm going to be paying for that I'm not going to use it this year. That's okay. That's a cost I'm willing to pay in order to do this, year sabbatical and see how I feel about it. So, and then after that year is up, I can decide how I want to proceed. I foresee a few different options. Number one, maybe I'm like, I super hardcore want to make this my career. I want to try everything and just really dive deep into it. Option two would be, I don't really care about making it my career, but I still want to have like some social media to market my books, and I still want to like get good cover art, and I kind of want to like make some extra cash, every month on my book sales and things like that. Option three would be, I don't care about social media or any of those things. I'm not going to really market my books, but I'm just going to write books as I feel like it and then make my own covers and pop them up on Amazon and quietly tell all my friends and family, hey, there's another book, and then not really pay attention to whether or not they're selling. And then option number four would be, I don't even want to share my writing with anybody at all. I just want to write things for myself. And then option number five would be, I don't want to write books anymore at all. I'm just done writing. I have ideas in my head, but I'm satisfied with just daydreaming about them, and I don't feel the need to actually write them into a book. Those are the options I foresee being my possibilities. If I had to guess right now, I have a feeling that I'm going to be leaning toward, I think it was option 4, where I write books as I feel like it and just kind of quietly put them up on Amazon and then forget about them. That's how I'm currently feeling like that's what I want, because I think it will make me, for a lot of reasons, but one is that I think it's going to help me to enjoy writing more and to take all the pressure off, because if I'm not going to make money on this and I'm not going to make a career out of it, well then why the heck would I bother like trying to think about what the market wants or what reader expectations are instead of just writing whatever I want, because I'm not succeeding in the market anyway, so I might as well just do what I want, right? And also, like, isn't that kind of one of the benefits of indie publishing, is that you can just do what you want? So that's what I'm leaning towards. That's what I think I want. And to be honest, that's what I have been feeling like I've wanted for several years now. But all of those other thoughts about what if you regret this are always in the back of my head. And certain things like shutting down your newsletter account after you've built up a mailing list of 700 subscribers cannot be undone. If I do that, then I regret it, sucks to be me, because you can't just like undo that. So I think this is going to be a good time to take a break, have some time to figure out if, start living the life that I think I want and see for the next year if that actually is what I want or if I change my mind. And if I change my mind, then no harm done, because all of my accounts will still be open and ready for me to come back to them. So that's the plan. And earlier I talked about how this is going to affect like what I'm gonna be doing on Instagram and Facebook and all those things and my newsletter. I didn't mention YouTube. I wanted to save that kind of for the end. So what does this mean for you as a subscriber of my YouTube channel? Well, to be honest, this might be good news for you, because along with my kind of thoughts about changing up my writing life, I've also thought about changing up my YouTube life a little bit. And what I mean by that is there are a lot of videos that I have wanted to make in the past that aren't related to writing books or reading books in any way. And I haven't done them because this channel is for book content. And so sometimes I'll have an idea and I'm like, yeah, that could be interesting. I want to talk about that, but I kind of have to start like a second channel since this is like my branded writing channel. But I've been considering the idea of what if I just don't have this be a branded writing channel, and instead I just have this be a place where I do whatever I want and post whatever I want. So if I choose to do that, which I think I am going to do that, or maybe I'll make a second channel, I don't know. Maybe I'll keep writing stuff here and then I'll just make one other channel where I do whatever I want. Maybe I'll do that. Either way, if you are someone who just likes to hear me talk about things and it doesn't really have to be writing related things, then that might be really good news for you, because I'll probably actually be doing more stuff on YouTube than I have been lately, because there's lots of things that I want to talk about that I just don't post because they're not really related to this subject. So if that's something that interests you, if I do ever make a second channel for that kind of stuff, I'll let you know. But if you're really only here for writing related stuff, I am still going to be posting some things about that, because I feel like talking to other writers about the things that I've learned over the past 8 years and kind of like helping other people out and sharing some of the things I've picked up along the way, that's kind of like a separate thing to me than writing and publishing books. There's not so much pressure on that. It's just fun to me. There's not really like, oh, I feel like I have to post a video today or something. I don't really feel that pressure anymore about YouTube. It's just, so I don't think, I'm not going to stop doing that kind of content. So this won't affect you all that much. However, it might affect you in a positive way if you would like to hear me talk about other stuff that's not writing. I will give a little bit of a disclaimer that I am a Christian. I feel weird saying that, like a disclaimer, I'm a Christian. Oh no. I've been a Christian this whole time, you guys. So if you didn't know that, like, my perspective on life has always been coming from a Christian worldview. But I don't talk explicitly about religion or religious subjects on this channel. And I also don't really talk, sometimes I touch on it a little if it's relevant to the writing world, but I don't really talk about politics on this channel. But if I make another channel or change this channel and start talking about whatever I want, I will be talking about those things. So that could alienate some of you a bit if you don't share my views on those subjects. And that's okay. We don't have to agree on everything. I follow lots of writers and readers on YouTube who are very liberal, and I am very conservative, and we probably disagree on so many things, but we all like books, so that's what we have in common. So if that's all you and I have in common, and you just want to hear me talk about books, and you don't want to hear about any of that stuff, that's fine. I, like I said, I might make a second channel for that kind of stuff, but if I do decide to just pivot this channel into that kind of a content, I don't want anyone to feel, and I don't think you do feel this way because that would be silly, but I don't want anyone to feel like I'm like gonna be upset if you unsubscribe from my channel or something. Like if I'm making content that you no longer enjoy, by all means unsubscribe. Like that's fine. I'm not gonna be offended by that. So yeah, that's my announcement for you. I'm taking a break for a year from a lot of this stuff, but also doing more of some of the other things that I really enjoy. Some topics I would like to make videos about. I really want to talk about The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. I recently read the book finally and then watched the movie, and the movie was definitely a very big letdown compared to the book, and I really would like to do a long, in-depth analysis of the comparison of both and why I didn't like the movie as much. So if that's something that's interesting to you, I might be doing that soon. I'll probably also be doing some more of those like writing kind of tutorial things, like I did the one about how to post on Amazon, and I did one about how to do newsletter swaps. I enjoy doing that kind of content, so I'll probably be doing some more of that. And then if I make a second channel, I'll probably be doing all kinds of religious related videos or political stuff, reaction videos to other people's like debates and stuff like that is something I'm interested in. So anyway, check that out if you want to, when or if that ever comes along. And until then, thanks for making it to the end of this video. You can still read my thoughts if you want to, although my website, although I did pretty much cover most of it here. And yeah, I'm excited. I think it's gonna be good. I already feel relaxed and like the pressure is taken off, and there are some ideas of stories that like I was kind of excited about, but I feel like they're a little messy and they don't really quite make sense yet, and I'm kind of like already finding myself daydreaming about those ideas again, because I'm like, well, if I'm just writing it for myself and nobody else, then it doesn't really matter if it makes sense completely, right? Like I can kind of just do what I want, and then if I want to publish it later, I can edit it and make it better, but I don't have to think about that yet. So I think this will take the pressure off. It'll be really good for me. I will just say to end this off, it's an interesting experience having something that is kind of a hobby become such a big part of your identity. You know, I especially when you're an overachiever and you're a perfectionist like I am, and you feel guilty when you're not producing or being productive all the time, which, by the way, little side note, I realized recently an interesting thing about myself is that for some reason, my brain like doesn't think of my day job as work that I've done. It's as if I get up in the morning, I get ready for work, I go to work, and then I come home and my brain is like, okay, your day has started now, and now you have to have a healthy level of work and play in the rest of your day, or else you're being lazy and you're not being productive. And it's like my brain is just completely just wiped away the memory of the fact that I just worked for like 6 hours or, you know, however long I worked that day. Like I just did a bunch of work. So even if the rest of the night is just play, I have had a healthy level of balance of work and play in this overall day. But my brain just like doesn't, and realizing that was actually really helpful for me. I've started to be able to like relax more with a little less like guilt over not being productive, because I'm like, girl, you just worked really hard like all day cleaning houses. You can relax. But anyway, when you're a perfectionist and you are really like, you feel guilty about not being productive or not producing things or achieving things all the time, It can be really difficult when something like writing books becomes such a big part of your identity that when you see family members or friends that you haven't seen in a long time, one of the first questions they'll ask is, how's your writing going? Have you written anything lately? And listen, I'm not saying anything negative about people asking those questions. It's a very nice question to ask. It shows that you're interested in my life, that you know what I've been up to, what I enjoy doing, and you're curious about it. That's very nice. But when you are the way that I am, sometimes my brain translates that as just another reminder that you haven't written anything in such a long time and you should be writing, because writing is who you are. You are a writer, you're an author. Everybody knows that about you. And when they ask you, what have you written lately? And your answer is, oh, I haven't really written anything in a long time. It's like, that's bad. That's wrong. You should fix that. And yeah, it's just a weird dynamic, and I'm sure other people don't have such an existential crisis about it as I do, but I don't know, it's hard to, I'm also very much a textbook overthinker, in case you haven't picked up on that yet. So yeah, it can be hard when your identity is so tied to something that you do and something you're achieving, or a hobby that, like, maybe you don't want it to be your hobby anymore. Like, I don't think that is the case for me with writing. I think I do still want to write, but if I didn't, I constantly have to remind myself, if you don't, that's totally fine. And it's weird that I have to remind myself of that, right? Because, like, my husband's a gamer, and he likes playing video games, but if one day he just decided, I don't really want to play video games anymore, I kind of want to get into, like, I don't know, fishing, and I want to go fishing now. I don't really want to do gaming anymore. Like, that's totally fine, right? Like, nobody would be like, what? But you have to play video games. That's what you do. But yet that's how I feel about writing. And I don't feel that way about any of my other hobbies. I mean, I like playing video games too, but sometimes I don't play one for, like, months, and then other months I play games every single day and, like, all my spare time. But when it comes to writing, because it's this hobby has gotten so twisted up with career goals and ambitions and achieving things and accomplishing things and producing content, it's become a thing, a thing that, like, I feel like I need to do, or I'm quitting, or I'm doing something wrong, or whatever. And that's just, it's not true, and it's unhealthy, and that's what this year is gonna fix, baby. We're gonna fix it, and we're gonna come out better on the other side, I think. So this video is probably likely coming out, I don't know when it'll come out, but right around time for my birthday. My birthday is June 22nd, and I am going to be 31 years old, so I think this is the perfect time for this journey to begin. By the time I am 32 years old, I will have hopefully a lot more clarity on where I want to go in the future with my writing dreams. So wish me luck. Thank you guys for watching. If you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up, although, I mean, it's not like this would be relevant to anybody who doesn't already know me, so it doesn't really matter, I guess. And yeah, I will talk to you guys soon. Bye.